live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
A Monday edition. Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live, May 22nd. Thank you for being with us. I'm Brian Schnee. We're going in depth tonight on a couple different topics. We're looking at road erosion now that some of those higher elevation areas are a little bit easier to access. Also looking at our outlook here for the next few months in terms of fire weather. Our Lincoln Graves will talk to us about that in just a few minutes. And also following up from a topic over the weekend where there was an accident or a medical situation down by a popular area known as Gunlock Falls. We'll get into that, but first let's get to your headlines. Utah Highway Patrol needs help identifying a motorcyclist involved in a dangerous incident over the weekend. You can see this article on our website right now, KUTV.com. We spoke to a safety advocate who says speeding is a major contributor to motorcycle crashes. Salt Lake County preparing for high levels of runoff and potential flooding. The county temporarily moving its flood control base of operations to Wheeler Farm, a Salt Lake County park that it also serves as a detention basin. Also making headlines today, a judge enters not guilty plea for the man charged in the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. Last November, 28-year-old Brian Koberger, that's when this took place. He refused to enter a plea when he appeared in a court today in Moscow, Idaho. Also, all these stories are on our website right now, KUTV.com. As we go in depth tonight, you can get in touch with us throughout the show. Use the hashtag 2NewsLive to join the conversation. So you can find us always on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send us a direct message, any of those platforms, to weigh in. As we go in depth tonight, more snowpack begins to melt. Canyon seeing some of the impacts. Road repairs, road closures, they're preventing hikers and other outdoor users from making it up some of those canyon areas. Emma Riley live for us in the Payson area after she went to a part of this area in Utah County where a road was washed out. Emma, what did you see when you were out there today?
We went up there earlier. We can't get service up there, so that's why we're going live down here. But when they took us up to the canyon, they had to let us through the gates because right now they are closed and they're not letting any hikers or anyone drive up the canyon. But when we got there, a whole chunk of the road has just it's washed out, and there were some hikers that were attempting to cross, but the Utah County Sheriff's Office is urging that people don't do that because it's not safe.
Emma, is that area closed right now, or can you access this area if you are a cyclist, if you are a hiker? Because obviously this is a popular spot. They'll have to wait for the water levels to kind of subside before they get in there and probably work on this spot. But can you physically get in there? Is that ill-advised to go up there and still recreate right now?
You can sort of drive up, but you get stopped right at the bottom of the canyon. There were a lot of people at the bottom of the canyon sort of walking, and the part that's washed out is pretty high, so it would take a while for you to get there if you did walk. But they don't want cyclists going across there. They don't want people driving any sort of vehicle across that part because it could just give out at any time. And so it's not safe to do that. There were some hikers, kind of trying to tiptoe across, but they don't want people to do that either because it is unsafe.
Emma Riley live for us tonight. Thank you so much. Of course, this article right now is on our website, KUTV.com, if you'd like to learn more. But after a record-setting wet and snowy winter, of course, the question is, what is in store for us as we transition into the height of the summer months? We already got a little taste of some heat over the last few days. Lincoln Graves has been asking those questions, taking a look at what the Climate Prediction Center is looking at for June, July, August. Lincoln, what did they tell you about those coming months?
Yeah, so that's kind of the heat of the summer, the heart of our summer, and they're saying that for the entire western half of the country, of course that includes Utah, but really the entire western half, we are looking at above normal temperatures for the next 3 months, all the way through August. The most severe area of above normal temperatures right now looks to be kind of the heart of New Mexico and Arizona, but Utah is certainly not escaping this, and they are expecting those really hot temperatures, or above normal temperatures, I should say, for the next 3 months. So, Brian, we're going to have to see if that actually pans out, but that's right now what the Climate Prediction Center is looking at this point.
Lincoln, nice and green behind you at least. It doesn't seem like much has dried out yet at this point. There was a pretty significant green up with all the growth from a lot of that winter weather, those conditions that just continue to pile on for months here. So that might have an impact here come fire season.
Yeah, that is a worry for people. This really wet winter that we had led to a lot of moisture, and it's turned everything green. Look up in the foothills right now. You're going to see green grasses. Everything just looks lush and so green. So that's kind of what officials are a little worried about. All of those grasses are eventually going to dry out, and once that happens, they become fuel for wildfires. Now, the big question in all of this is monsoonal moisture, desert monsoonal moisture. We had a really robust monsoon last year, if people remember, and that helped tame wildfire season. Right now, the monsoon forecast is looking that it's going to arrive later this year. So the concern is that that will give enough time for these grasses to dry out and then become fuel for wildfires. So it's still a little iffy on that monsoon forecast. They like to wait till mid-June to late June to really get an idea of what summer weather patterns are like, but that is a possibility. The monsoon comes, but it comes too late, or perhaps it doesn't come at all, and all of that grass becomes really prime fuel. Brian?
Lincoln, thank you very much. Taking a look into the outlook, of course. So that's a projection here for the next few months. Things can change, of course, but when you hear a delay in potential for the monsoon,
that makes sense.
What does that mean?
It makes sense because our winter went so long.
Yeah.
Also to keep in mind, though, we're going to dry out regardless because we're going from our wettest months to our driest months. So March, April, May, wettest months on average here in Salt Lake. June, July, August, on average, are driest months. So everything is nice and green right now, but typically by July, we're going to see things definitely brown out, if you will. But everything is delayed by a couple weeks because it just took so long for that snow to melt. So we'll see what happens with the fire season. Of course, it's likely going to be a hot summer, but like last year, we saw lots of showers and thunderstorms with that monsoon in July and August. And I think fires were on top of mind for a lot of folks. So we saw that number of human-caused fires finally come down compared to the year prior.
We'll look at your forecast here with your 7-day in just a few minutes. Before we get there, though, on this topic, we want to know what you are thinking at home. How concerned are you for Utah's wildfire season with drier, hotter temps? I'm going to ask you to grab your phone right now and scan the QR code on your screen to weigh in. Let's take a look at this poll here. It has changed since 4 o'clock. First time I saw this poll where we're getting a lot more votes in here now. So the question, how concerned are you? Most of you saying it'll be a record wildfire year. Very interesting because the other two close margins there at 19%, average or more green equals below average year. So, Chase, looking at this poll, we've already done some previews to our fire coverage here on 2 News Live. Did an interview last week with the Bureau of Land Management about looking specifically at southern Utah and what that looks like after that brush fire that was in St. George, which caught a lot of attention given the location, given the dark black smoke. So we wanted to know, really, how are things looking now, and then what are the potential spots where there should be concern in the coming months? Typically, it does go south to north based on the obvious of the temps and drying out first.
That's exactly what's going to happen. You know, southern Utah is already drying out and they haven't had a whole lot of rain. However, northern Utah is still melting the snow. So things are very green right now and starting to green up in the mountains. I mean, Snowbird still has 5 to 6 feet of snow to melt. So I'm not really concerned about fire danger right now in northern Utah, but it's there. With this record snowpack, we have more vegetation.
Sure.
However, about 80% of our wildfires here in Utah are human caused.
Yeah.
So if we were just not causing fires,
well,
we're not going to have a bad fire year.
Well, let's talk about that, though.
It's literally that simple.
Let's talk about that, though, because there's a number of different ways. A lot of people, you know, old school way of thinking is, oh, it's a cigarette butt out the window. Not really the case. Maintaining your vehicles.
It's a lot of dragging chains
and your
it's
campfires.
a big thing off the side of those roads. Like you said, campfires. And then, of course, as we head into the holidays in July, we see those fireworks.
Yeah, and that's a pretty common one, given, of course, the restrictions that are in place.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Mother Nature can come into play with some lightning-caused fires.
That's right.
And that does happen as we comb through some of the data just last week in some of those areas. So here comes the warm up, or at least the consistent warm here of what we were looking at. So now really the drying out process, valley locations, it's already begun.
Yeah, especially down in southern Utah. We've already had some massive wildfires in Canada. So you notice the smoke over the weekend. That is from Canada, not from Utah. Now the thickest smoke is to our north. We've had this high to our northwest. I'm going to teach you something, okay? We got clockwise rotation around a ridge of high pressure. So with this high to our northwest, our winds have been to the north, bringing in some of that smoke all the way into northern and central Utah. The good news, this high is moving to the east. Keeps temperatures very warm in Utah. However, our winds are now out of the south, so that means no more smoke, at least here in Utah.
Fortunately, mostly moderate air quality, which isn't something to really be too concerned about. Keep in mind, in Canada, over 5 million acres have burned so far.
That's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot, and they're still burning right now.
Let's take a look at your forecast.
That's right, we're tracking those showers and thunderstorms across the state. A little bit of moisture has been moving in. We've been dealing with some warm temperatures. There's also a storm system pumping up some of that moisture right into Utah. There's actually a little bit of a cool front that is just to our west. So winds out of the south, and we've been tracking those storms. This storm system that's pumping up the moisture, it's not going to be moving very much. It's going to be drifting towards the south. So we're going to have that moisture in play with the warm temperatures. Recipe for thunderstorms. Right now, most of the Wasatch Front has been dry, but we do have a cluster of storms to our southwest that's going to try to roll in across the southern and central portions of the Wasatch Front through this evening. Also, a few storms I'm looking at out in Box Elder County that might roll into the northern end of the Wasatch Front later tonight. We've had some storms around Castle Country, southeastern Utah, southwestern Utah. Right now, the heaviest rain is in northern Washington County. So if you're driving along I-15, there might be some pockets of rain, especially in between Cedar City and St. George. Also, Kanab seeing a couple of those showers and storms. So here we are by 8 o'clock. You can see these showers trying to roll in. So again, Utah County, the best chance to see a little bit of rain. But take a look later tonight at midnight, northern end of the Wasatch Front, there might be a couple lingering showers. But with that sun setting, we lose that instability, and we'll see if those showers can hang on. Now by tomorrow morning, a few clouds dry, but here we go again, scattered storms central and northern Utah. There might be one or two down south, but I don't think we're going to see as many in southwestern Utah. The best chance will be right here in northern Utah and along the Wasatch Front. Tomorrow might be our best chance for some of that rain. Temperatures tomorrow, upper 70s and low 80s, so still pretty warm and a few degrees above average. Upper 70s in central Utah, but Moab, you'll be at 88. Hot day and dry in St. George at 93 degrees. So those rain chances are relatively low through this evening, 30%, but they go up tomorrow at 50. 40 on Wednesday, staying at 30% Thursday and Friday. So each afternoon and evening, you got to keep your eyes to the sky, but it's not a guarantee you're going to get rain. So I wouldn't change any outdoor plans. And those storm chances remain there, spotty, over the weekend and into the holiday. Big holiday weekend, and temperatures are going to stay warm. 70s up in Cache Valley, 80s along the Wasatch Front, Park City in the 70s, and good chance for those mountain thunderstorms. Snowbird will be open for some late season skiing, and temperatures will be very mild in the 60s. If you're headed down to southern Utah, Moab, and St. George, very warm temperatures, but your storm chances are a bit lower. So great pool weather, especially in the St. George area. It's going to be a little windy though this week, low 90s through Thursday and Friday, and even into the weekend, maybe not as gusty Saturday and Sunday. Just wear your sunscreen, stay hydrated if you're hitting those national parks. It's a hot forecast, but pretty common this time of year down in southern Utah. Salt Lake, we got those scattered storms in the afternoon, highs near 80, and we hover near 80. Storm chances around 20 to 30% through the weekend, upper 70s and low 80s. Might see a stray storm on Monday as well. So next 7 days, we got chances for a little bit of rain, but again, those rain chances not that high, especially over the holiday weekend. Best chance will be tomorrow and on Wednesday. So if you get rain at your house, turn off your sprinklers. It's free water. We still got to conserve.
Yes, and that's a good point, because we were talking with the folks at the Bureau of Reclamation late last week. 1 year doesn't make up for the 20-plus year drought. So those same practices we've been using over the last few years still apply, even though we had a great winter.
And it helped last year with all that conservation. If we just keep it going and we had a nice winter, you know, every little bit does help.
Heed those warnings. Thank you, Chase. Remember to download our 2 News weather app to know about changes in your neighborhood. You can get updated forecasts some live radar right at the palm of your hand. Very easy to get. Scan the QR code right now and you can have the 2 News weather app, which is a free download. It'll hook you up with everything you need when it comes to the weather front. Let's turn to southern Utah now. An incident over the weekend. 12-year-old girl swimming in the pools above Gunlock Falls. Now, according to Utah State Parks personnel, the water current held her head under the water. Bystanders were able to pull her out, though. They do not think the girl fell off any of the waterfall areas or were swept into rocks, as happened in past instances there. However, this serves as a good reminder. Know your abilities, know your surroundings, especially when it comes to moving water.
In this case, there wasn't that warning in place. It just seems to be an accident in this case.
How popular are the falls when they're flowing?
The Gunlock State Park waterfalls are extremely popular when they do occur. Because of that, they're not an every year thing. The Gunlock State Park waterfalls only occur when the water level at the reservoir reaches a high enough number to start overflowing. The Gunlock waterfalls are actually a spillway, just a little bit of a different spillway than what people are traditionally used to seeing. And they draw so many people because it's not very often that you see waterfalls such as these in landscapes that are red rock, especially in the St. George area because of the desert climate. So they're extremely popular, especially on weekends. But just because they're popular doesn't mean that people should think that everything's 100% safe all the time. Outdoor recreation of any sort has with it some risks. The waterfalls are included in there. So we encourage people to visit Gunlock State Park, visit the waterfalls, visit the reservoir included there as well, and paddleboard and have a good time. But always be aware of your current ability level, your families, keep an eye on children, the elderly, and anyone like that that might be around there, and use your best judgment.
Given the amount of people that do come out on a nice Saturday or a nice Sunday to check out the water, especially when temperatures reach 90 degrees and then eventually skyrocket here as we get into the summer months, is there a pretty good park ranger law enforcement presence there, just keeping an eye on things, given the amount of people that are there and given the amount of calls that have been made for emergency response to that area when those falls are flowing?
That is actually a big change that we've made. So Utah State Parks has recently increased the staffing at Gunlock State Park this year, both because, yes, the waterfalls are very popular, but Gunlock State Park as a whole has gotten increasingly popular even without the waterfalls. Because the waterfalls are flowing this year, we have had increased law enforcement staff as well as non-law enforcement staff there. We've also put up additional signage and tried to push out a lot of community messaging of the best ways to enjoy Gunlock State Park, which are, like I said, making sure that the park, hasn't reached capacity. That way you're even able to get in, and to check our waterfall watch updates that we post on Facebook and on the Gunlock State Park website to see what the current status of the falls actually is. Because of that increased visitation, we've seen a lot of people, recreating in the area. And unfortunately, this is one of those times that something unfortunately happened. And thankfully, it seems like everything's going as good as can be expected after a tragedy such as this. We're just very thankful that the passersby and family members were able to assist and call for help at that same time, which is another safety message that we encourage everyone to do. If you see someone who might be in trouble, always call for help before ever trying to do any sort of rescue. Always call 911, get a park ranger there, get search and rescue there if you need, and that goes for any state park.
In this situation, the 12-year-old is expected to recover and do okay. Over the years, there have been a number of instances there because it's very popular. You were just there within the last month or so.
You have your little lake or reservoir just above the falls.
Because it's a spillway.
Bit of a stretch, and then it spills over. So yeah, but once you get to the falls, they can be extremely dangerous. I mean, the water is moving at a good clip, and then you got these giant cliffs that, just one wrong move. Go take a look, but just look from a distance. Don't get right up there. When I was there, they're very, very, very busy, and people were just taking risks, and I was just very surprised.
Yes.
Don't take those risks.
Yeah, especially with, pets, children, same sort of things applies. Yourself, know your abilities.
Not worth it.
Thanks for watching us here on a Monday. We appreciate you being with us here for 2 News Live. We are back tomorrow, 5:30, same time, same place. Have a great rest of your day. We will see you back here as we hit Tuesday and make our way through the week. Have a great night.